Franz von Kearney, writings by Frank Schmidt on the Danube Swabian people. These collected writings are republished in memory of the author, Frank Schmidt, so that others may continue to enjoy his work. May his spirit live on. The Danube Swabian Home. The heart of thousands of agricultural villages on the Danubian plain. On August 29, 1526, the Hungarians suffered a crushing defeat by the Ottoman Turks at Mohalos. In his attempt to avoid capture, King Louis II of Hungary drowned in a nearby river while trying to escape. Since he left no heirs, the surviving nobles awarded the crown of Hungary to his brother-in-law Ferdinand, Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire of the German nation, whose seat was in Vienna. Thus began the 400-year association of the Habsburg dynasty with Hungary. Although succeeding Habsburgs were the legitimate kings, the Turks occupied most of Hungary for the next 150 years. Under Grand Vizier Suleiman, i.e. the Turks attempted to expand their empire further into Europe that was decisively defeated in an epic battle at the gates of Vienna on September 12, 1683, by the combined Christian armies mainly recruited in Germany and Poland. It took German forces under Prince Eugen of Savoy and the redoubtable Ludwig von Baden, called Turken Louis by his troops, another 35 years to drive the Turks from all of Hungary. A peace treaty signed by Passarowitz in 1718 finally ended the fighting and established a recognized border between the Turkish and Habsburg empires, and the Habsburgs finally assumed their role as kings of Hungary. The settlement of the depopulated crown lands of Hungary has now begun in earnest. This was also the primal event that led to the formation of a new German ethnic group outside of the contiguous German-speaking areas of Europe, now called Danube Swabians. To settle the depopulated wastelands of the recovered territories, the Imperial Council in Vienna promulgated a grandiose impopulation scheme in order to transform this former backwater of Europe into a cultured, progressive, Western-oriented Christian society. All the people of the empire were invited to settle there, but Germans, because of their undoubted loyalty to the crown, their innate work ethic, technical know-how, and above all, their proven agricultural expertise, were preferred by the authorities. Agents were dispatched from Vienna to the southwestern principalities of Germany to recruit potential settlers. Because of recurring French invasions, recent crop failures, and ever-increasing rents demanded by greedy landlords, the promise of the respected House of Habsburg of personal freedom, free homesteads, establishment credit, and freedom, free homesteads, establishment credit, and freedom from taxation for 10 years. Thousands pulled up stakes and made their way to Ulm, Donauwörth, Regensburg, and other embarkation points along the Danube, where they boarded hastily constructed barges that took them to their promised land in Hungary. These were propelled by the current of the river. It took about 2 weeks to reach their destination, with a brief stop in Vienna to be registered and receive their establishment credits. When they arrived at Apatin and other points along the north bank of the Danube, they debarked. In a country where all houses were built exactly on the lot line on one side of the property. No windows were permitted on the side adjacent to the neighbor's yard, assuring him complete privacy. 2 windows faced the street, and 2 openings were cut into the gable to circulate air in the attic. All the other windows looked into the yard. Doors and windows were made in local carpentry shops and were put in place after the tamping had stopped. Floors were mainly of a special terracotta-colored earth that looked nice but required a lot of attention. Many were later covered with wooden floors. Houses were entered through an outside door on the street, which led onto the gang, a porch covered by the roof that usually ran the length of the house. One entered the rooms through the kitchen. The room facing the street was not only the main bedroom, but it was also a living dining room, if one may call it that. It contained beds as well as a table and chairs where the family took its meals. The table was also used for every other conceivable purpose. A clay heating unit called an Ofen, because it was really an oven for baking that was fueled from the kitchen, heated the room by convection. A bench appropriately called the Ofenbank. Oven bench. Surrounding the heating unit was the warmest spot in the house during the winter. It was a center for reading, storytelling, singing, and other family activities that are largely forgotten today. The second bedroom, often called a Paradistube, was located on the other side of the kitchen and was either used by the children or reserved as a guest room. It was also the repository of the housewife's best linens and embroidery handiwork. The kitchens were equipped with a Sparherd, literally economy hearth, a stove made of clay bricks, which had a 2-ring iron plate for cooking. Since wood was a scarce commodity, the fuels were usually dried corn cobs, roots of the corn plant, and dried corn stalks from which the leaves had been pulled for cattle feed. Another fuel was the broken stalk of the hemp plant that had been stripped of its fibers. All these fuels were readily available, efficient, and clean burning. Because of the heat in the summer, many houses had so-called summer kitchens where meals were cooked and bread was baked. These were small structures located on the far side of the garden opposite the kitchen door with louvres or windows that could be opened to dissipate the heat. Other doors from the porch led to a staircase to the attic, to a root cellar and a larder, where in the days before refrigeration, the family's food supply, like smoked hams, sausages, lard, and other foodstuffs, were kept. Sandboxes in the cellars preserved carrots and other root crops, as well as potatoes, and of course the ubiquitous wine barrels, except for coffee, tea, sugar, etc. Most families were almost entirely self-sufficient with their own foodstuffs. Since the homesteads were in fact farms, they were equipped with stables and cowsheds. There was usually a shed for wagons and farm implements. Pigs were kept in pigsties at the far end of the yard, as well as chicken coops and accommodation for other fowls, such as geese and ducks. The farthest from the house was a manure pile, and the nearest was a well and vegetable garden. Many yards had a ham bar, a lattice structure where corn on the cob was kept before it was removed and fed to the animals. Beside the well, there was commonly a water trough for the animals. The narrower side streets were originally devoted to housing for artisans like tailors, dressmakers, shoemakers, weavers, and cabinet makers, etc. All of the common fixtures in every community before the onset of the industrial age. They also raised pigs, chickens, etc., and often had a cow for their milk supply. The center of every Danube Swabian community was the church, which was located in the center of the village or town. Life revolved around the church and the feast days of the church. Like Easter Corpus, Christi All Saints' Day, and Christmas were church holidays that everyone adhered to. Besides, there were secular holidays like New Year and May Day, an ancient German tradition where happy young people danced around the maypole. There was also Kirchweih, a holiday to commemorate the consecration of the local church. It was a major holiday and was a time for dancing, drinking, feasting, and merrymaking that sometimes lasted a couple of days. Another important day for every family was a day or two in November or early December when hogs were slaughtered to provide much of the meat the family consumed during the year. Life in the Danube Swabian community lived in accordance with the cycles of nature and went on like the gentle ticking of a grandfather clock. The most intensive work was done in the spring at planting time, and even more so during the harvest at the end of summer or in the fall. Most could not afford machinery, so wheat was still cut with a scythe, although threshing machines had become commonplace. Harvesting of corn was largely done by hand, and cobs were broken off the stalk one piece at a time. It was a very labor-intensive operation that usually began at 4 a.m. and lasted until sundown. A corn-husking bee later brought boys and girls together. It was a happy occasion, and many friendships were formed that led to marriage. Danube Swabians lived in peace, harmony, and mutual respect among people of other races and religions. They needed no lessons about tolerance from anyone, especially the victors of World War I and II. To destabilize the region, the Allies stirred up hatreds among people in the region that ended with the deportation and genocide, not only of the Danube Swabians and the relocation of other nationalities, but also caused recent troubles in Bosnia and other regions of southeastern Europe. The Danube Swabians, who survived by seeking refuge in Germany near the end of the war, are now scattered throughout Germany, Austria, North and South America, as well as Australia may remember, and even shed a private tear for the Eden they and their forebears had created. As one notable Danube Swabian commented without the bees, the Danube Swabians. The Danubian basin is no longer a land of milk and honey. The former golden fields of wheat and the green fields of corn are no longer being tended by the industrious Germans and the alien peoples that now inhabit their land, which was once one of the great breadbaskets of Europe, are no longer as productive as when the industrious Danube Swabians worked. Then, the present inhabitants have little interest in agriculture. Ironically, many of those who had taken over Danube Swabian homes and neglected them have gone to Germany to earn a living. Those who survived dispossession in Romania, deportation from Hungary, slave labor in the USSR, and genocide in the death camps of communist Yugoslavia now live in relative comfort in Germany, Austria, North and South America, and Australia. There is no doubt that they remember their life in Danube Swabian communities, their neat villages and ancient homes, their social religious institutions, and close family ties. These are now but fond memories, which they will cherish until the end of their days. Evil has triumphed because, as so often in history, good men have done nothing to stop it. Hopefully, this article will be a gentle reminder of a homeland that no longer exists, but will never be forgotten by those who had the good fortune to live in a homogeneous community with people that knew no hatred, but became the victims of hatred because of their German ancestry. May those who perished in the death camps rest in peace on the soil of their former homeland, a peace that was denied to them during their lifetime.
As we wrap up this episode, I'm truly fascinated by the intricate details of Danube Swabian homes and their way of life. The concept of the gang, the cozy warmth of the Ofen bank, and the ingenious use of locally available fuels in the kitchens paint a vivid picture of their resourcefulness and community spirit. I'm left wondering what aspects of their lifestyle resonate with you the most. Can you envision the bustling yards filled with animals and the communal celebrations centered around the church? How do you think their close connection with nature and the cycles of life influence their sense of time and community? I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Our exploration of history often offers insights that can illuminate our present and guide us towards a brighter future. It's been a fascinating journey, and I'm grateful you joined me. If you liked this episode, I invite you to check out more stories from this channel, and please share them with your friends, families, and clubs who think will like them as well. Remember, the past holds valuable lessons that can shape our understanding of the world today. Stay curious and keep learning. Until our next adventure together,
Wir sind Donauschwaben, Kinderskinder.